for tuning into the Sistas Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Danny M, and my co-host.
Hi, I'm Asia Carroll. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Yes. And so today, Sistas Talk has a very special guest, Emerald Taylor. And she is the CEO and owner of Opulent Tax Pros, LLC. So, Emerald, we want you to let us know who you are and tell us, was it hard? Was it easy? Was it challenging to open up your own tax business?
Okay, so during the pandemic, to open a business, it was challenging. However, I'm already at home, so it just made it that much more easier. So it wasn't a hard process, to be honest. A lot of research, great partners. I have some awesome mentors, and pretty much that's all it took, some extra effort. That's it.
Nice.
Oh, that's good. So can you please tell us, are there a lot of changes from this new tax year from last year?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. You would not believe how many people still have not even received their stimulus from last year. Some people have not received their return from last year. And I'm just floored by the, influx that I get in my inbox regarding their tax returns. I'm like, how do you miss out on $8,000 and $9,000? And some people say, I gave up, to be honest. I kept calling the IRS due to high call volume. I just gave up and I stopped calling. However, you can also log on to the irs.gov website. Located at the bottom of the website, it'll say your local tax office. Put in your zip code. You can make an appointment due to COVID, or you can schedule an appointment over the phone to get whatever your tax issue is taken care of. Some people tell me, I didn't think I made enough money to carry taxes. You have children, you need to get that money. So yeah. It's very different this year.
I'm telling you, I need to get that money. She wired me up. Asia, wait a minute. We need to get that money.
Yeah. So what do you think is the actual main tax changes this year? Because I know we can't even file right now until the February 12th?
February 12th, yes.
So what are the main changes from last year and this year that people should be aware of?
You need to make sure if you were affected by COVID that where your tax preparer files the 7202. It's a form. You can go on irs.gov. What people do not understand about taxes is all the information is available online. If you just apply yourself, take a little time away from social media, give yourself 30 minutes, go to irs.gov, type in whatever your question or your concern may be, and it's there. It's form 7202. I'm sorry, 7202 is going to be the form. That's the COVID relief form. So if you were affected, if you had to miss work due to your children, it does come with different guidelines. That's the reason reading is very important. Go on the website, read all the guidelines. About 80 to 90% of my clientele does fall within that category, and it's extra funds that's available. Also, if you had a baby in 2020, like myself, you get an extra tax credit of $1,100. It's additional. So it's different credits and different guidelines. I do suggest a lot of people, they'll come to me and they'll say, oh, I didn't want to use a tax preparer due to the price when it comes to the fee. But I'm a firm believer in you get exactly what you pay for. And sometimes by using TurboTax, you may lose out on a lot of credits because you were just not educated and you did not know. So that extra $50 that you did not want to pay a tax preparer, you just lost out on $2,000 to $3,000 due to that.
Wow.
I agree.
That's a significant amount of money. And, most people don't think of it in those terms. A lot of people think, oh, well, I'm just going to get someone to file it for me really quickly and only pay them $100. But to lose out on $2,000 to $3,000, that's a lot of money.
That's a couple of bills. That's your down payment on a new vehicle. That's your rent. That's a lot.
That's a lot of things.
But you know what? When it comes to taxes, I have really learned it's a trust thing. And if you don't honestly trust your tax preparer, because you're giving them sensitive documents, You're giving them your birth certificate. You're giving them your ID or driver's license. You're giving them your kids' documentation. And if you just go to someone that's not reputable or been around or, you know, their characteristics, I'm a big firm believer on characteristics. If that person is not trustworthy, I wouldn't kind of trust them to do my taxes, because some of my clientele also, they let other people carry their kids. For example, I'm a barber or I'm a beautician, and I let somebody else carry my kids because I feel like I can't get a tax return. And that person gave me $500. Now, guess what? When you do go and work and get a W-2 or a 1099 or a 1040 employer, at that time, now you may have a problem with the IRS because they're going to be questioning, is this really your kid? Because somebody else carried this child last year. Or also you run into the era of, what if that person goes file their return before you do? Now you're on a 6 to 12 month delay, because now you have to do an amended return. You have to prove that that's your child and it's your child, or they'll only give you a small amount of money, $500 to $1,000, when, to be completely honest, if you're a beautician, self-employed is what we call them, you can get a minimum tax return this year of $5,000. And that's just with one child. So I just tell people, be very careful when it comes to taxes. Just very careful.
Speaking to that, yes, speaking to that, I know a lot of people are victims of identity theft, identity fraud. So what kind of advice would you give to people who are susceptible to those types of activities, even prior to filing their income taxes? What would you tell them?
Okay, so I have a few of those. You have to get an IPPIN number, also located on irs.gov. It's honestly going to be your best friend when it comes to a lot of documents. The hold times for IRS right now is out of control. I'm not going to give you anything that's unrealistic. I like to be very honest with my clientele. Be prepared to put that phone on hold, go clean up your whole house, and come back, and you may have a representative if you didn't press the wrong little prompt through the thing. Because if you press one wrong prompt, they get you on that line. No, ma'am, let me transfer you. And that's another 2 hours. So you have to call in and get the IPPIN number. And it's secure. It's a number that is only provided by the IRS for yourself, your dependents. And once you get an IPPIN number, you get one for 3 to 6 years, even after that, just to cover you and your kids. And you cannot file your return without it. You can go file it. However, you're going to get a rejection.
So, wow. Oh, also too, I want to chime back in and bring us back for a second. You never told us where you're from. You never told us a little bit about who you are.
Oh, who am I? I'm a wife. I'm a mom of 5. I'm originally from Minden, Louisiana. And then I came to Houston in the 8th grade, and I've been here ever since. I also have a full-time job in the medical field also. So I have a number of different things to offer. I do notary. Also, if you need those, I'm mobile with that also. And I'm currently, sticking my little feet into doing the credit repair. So stay tuned. That's coming next.
One-stop shop here, guys. One-stop shop.
That's it. And I'm touchable. That's what I tell my clientele. It's so important that when you choose a tax preparer, myself have been in the position, I chose a tax preparer. And once they got me as a client, which means they got my information and they say, okay, I'm following you and this is how much you're getting, I never heard back from them. Or I'll text them and it'll take like 2 to 3 days, or I'll feel like I'm hassling them. I tell all of my clientele, I speak with them. I want to speak with you because I want to build a relationship with you, as well as I want you to build one with me. I want you to follow me on social media. I want you to see I have a real life beyond this. I have children. I have a husband. We have a dog. We're a real family over here. And I honestly care, because just during COVID, just period, people are in such a bad situation that any way I can help personally, I would love to help. I'm here to help. Some people tell me, I go to a tax preparer and, they charge me X amount of dollars. And I'm like, what she do for you? And they're just like, no, this is what she did. This is what she charged. And I never heard from her. She just kept redirecting me back to the IRS website. And it's just like, I give in. I have a heart. And some of my older clients, I'll log on and I'll walk them through it. You know, I'll tell them if you have a child, I'll speak with the child. Let's do some face-to-face, whatever it takes just to help. You know, things make a little easier for you. So I'm touchable. I'm reachable. You respond. If you send me a message, I can guarantee you within 30 minutes, I'm back with you. And if I'm not typing you a message, I'm on the phone. Hey girl, how was your day? So that's just me. So yeah.
Awesome.
That's awesome. So you are not only a tax preparer, but you have amazing customer service experience that you're giving to your clients. And that's you can't pay for that, you know? So kudos to you for that, number one, because I remember, I would say 11 years ago, before I started doing my own taxes, I had tax preparers. And like you said, you can barely get them on the phone. They rarely want to answer any questions. They're not really personable. They'll say, this is what your return is, and we'll let you know when it's here. That's it. So the fact that you're making yourself and your presence known, that's amazing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh yeah, no worries. So what is the actual cutoff this year in regards to the dependent, I can't remember what you call it. Oh my goodness. It's a dependent tax credit.
EIC credit?
Yes.
Now, this is what I also tell clientele. If you go to a tax preparer and they say, you know how we see all the signs, 1 kid, $5,000, 2 kids, this, run for the hill, because every tax situation is different. So I won't quote you a price unless I actually look at your documentation, because I don't want to give you a false expectation, because somebody making $12,000 and somebody making $40,000, we're in different tax brackets. So the EIC credit is calculated a little different.
That's very good information. And then also, people don't know about not just the tax credits, but they'll go to places and they'll say, well, just bring your last pay stub. And for me, I just take that. Sometimes that can be like a red flag, because it's like they're just trying to get your money. What are your opinions on that? Do you think people should wait for their W-2s to come out?
Okay, so to be honest, I say yes and I say no. I say yes from a standpoint of being a mother and you just provided for your kids from Christmas. So you're in January, you just want to hurry up and get funding. You have bills due, you gave your last, you want to get your taxes filed so that, you know, when the remainder of my tax return comes, at least I'm not so far in the hole that I don't have anything. Right. So that was, you know, it happened to a lot of my clients and they're just so in a rush. I just want to file. I advise, my honest opinion, what is on your last paycheck stub versus what is on the W-2 may not always match. Therefore, you run into the issue of, will you have to file an amended return? Does the provider that you chose charge you to do an amended return? What state are you in? I have a lot of Louisiana clientele, so they get federal and they get a state tax. Is your preparer charging you for both? How would that affect both? It's a lot that goes into it, because just because you get that loan, that pre-approval for the $6,000, it may work for the person that has been with the same tax preparer for the same, you know, time frame, a few years, because their information is already in the system. That EIN number that we have to enter, that's the same. But what if it's a new client coming to you? It works a little different. What if that W-2 number is different? Now you have to do an amended return. It may delay. It's a lot of different things that comes with it. And even being a tax preparer, we hold ourselves liable when it comes to giving out those loans, because believe it or not, everyone is not honest in the world. Some people do what we call tax hop. So they go to different tax offices within the same day and they apply for the same loan. Guess what? Only the person that filed them first will actually get their fee. The rest is a liability. So it's not just the client that is taking the risk, it's also the preparer by using a last paycheck stub. I have a lot of guidelines that I go off of. It's a lot of red flags when it comes to, you know, last paycheck stubs. So I always advise preparers, I just be careful. Be careful to the provider and be careful to the clientele on who you're choosing to do your taxes.
Wow. You heard it here. Emerald just told you guys. Absolute best thing to do, just wait just a few weeks. It's just best to do it that way. That way you don't have any issue. You do not want problems with the IRS. That's all I'm going to say. You don't want problems with the IRS. Sally Mae and the IRS, I don't play with.
And guess what? The first person when things goes wrong, believe it or not, the first person is the tax preparer. No matter what you do, you may have followed every guideline, and the client will still say, it's your fault, the reason that my taxes are being delayed. And it's like, you wanted to lose your, you pressured me to use your last paycheck stub. I used it. You got your W-2s, the numbers didn't match. And while we're talking about it, let's go ahead and tap in to those unemployment. A lot of people last year, was not working. So majority of clientele received unemployment, but we're in a rush to file our taxes because due to the starting date has delayed, we know that it's going to delay us from getting our return, right? March sometime. We know that for sure. We don't want to wait. We feel like it's already summertime when it's not. So with that being said, everybody is just in a rush. And I'm like, slow down. I'd rather you slow down and write on the appropriate documents rather than hurry up and file, and then you're getting a paper in the mail. Or you say, Emma, what's going on? My return, I'm not getting an updated status online. I'm holding for the IRS. You're going in circles when you could have just avoided all of this by waiting on that 1099-G form. And that's going to show your tax preparer how much unemployment you received and did you pay taxes on it. We all know, well, not everyone knows. That's why it's so important to educate yourself and make sure that you're with a preparer that will educate you also. That unemployment is considered income, honey. That's money. So yeah, IRS, they want their cut. So you didn't pay all year and you got those kids, we finna tap into some of that EIC money that we was gonna give you at this point. So, and you have to file those forms because whether it happens now or it happens next year, you're gonna get hit. It's gonna happen.
Uncle Sam always gonna get his cut. So let's get on to phase 2 of this interview. We want to talk a little bit about the business side of things. So a lot of people opened up their businesses for the first time in 2020. So I want to know if you can give them some advice on where to start. Step 1. Some people don't even know step 1. They only file their personal taxes. So what's the best advice for someone who opened up their LLC June of 2020 and they're looking to file their business taxes?
Okay. Business taxes always work a little different. I tell them, get all of your documentation together. For my clientele, I send out a very detailed list. If it's not there, ask me. I tell them, if you question it, I'd rather you ask me than us to run into an issue later on. We need all of those tax forms. We need all of the tax information from your business. We need to know your expenses, your income from your business. How many employees did you have? Did you apply for any of these SBA or PPP loans? You know that everybody wanted to run and get. You didn't know that that was going to affect your tax bracket this year. That also is happening with a lot of people. How were you affected? Because see, that COVID that we're talking about, that 7202, that kind of ties in with what type of business do you have? Some people have what we call a sole proprietor, and then some people also have like LLCs, and like it's like a certified business almost, quote unquote. So what type of business are you? Are you a Schedule C? And then I kind of handle it from what type of business you tell me. Our documentation is everything. I always tell my clients, more is better, because if you get audited, worst case scenario, I need to be able to go pull your file, and I need to pull out all the documents and say, this is what we have. This is these are all of her expenses. This is everything. If you're gonna owe, you need to make sure that you wrote off everything from phone bills to mileage to, we're working out of our homes, some of us. I do meet clientele, but I'd rather not. I'll do a face-to-face or whatever. I have met a couple of clients in person, but just COVID, the numbers have increased in Houston just so rapidly that I'd rather not. But yeah, business owners, get ready. It's going to be real. You have credits out there, but you have to have all of your documentation in place. So I say, to go back to your original question, where to start, I would start by getting all of my expenses, my receipts, what have I paid? And the most important thing, separate your business money and your personal money, because they're not one. They are not one. So make sure that you just go get a business account, have your, business transactions, showing the IRS that you're a real business and you didn't just pop up at tax time, and that'll help you a lot.
That's very important. I'm glad that you said that. A lot of people do not understand the importance of having a personal account and a business account, and how it will save them in the long run when it comes to doing the taxes, because now you don't have to scrounge through your own personal bank statements and then give that to your tax preparer, because you don't know which is which. So you're highlighting different transactions on your bank statement to
they
say,
bring me a box.
Right.
My clientele will bring me a big box and say, here, beware, you just brought me a box of statements. We just went from a tax preparer, we just turned into bookkeeping one-on-one, because now I have to put all of that into Excel. I have to get a worksheet together for you. And those, to be completely honest, with all tax preparers, you're going to have to pay up front.
Yeah, I think
when it comes to a business.
Yeah,
be prepared to pay up front.
I think it's appropriate, especially because there's so many different rules with business than it is with personal, and a lot of people don't really understand how business taxes work. Now, are there any tax credits for businesses this year?
Well, if you have Schedule C, you made plates out of your home, you did t-shirts out of your home, you had a cup business, that would instantly qualify you for the 7202 form. That's why I say that you have to be very careful when it comes to taxes and going directly to TurboTax, because you may lose out on your credit. If you have that Schedule C on your tax return, it can trigger that 7202 form, that you may be able to get some cuts, because a lot of small businesses lost a lot last year. So you're able to go back and file that on your tax return. And with this thing this year, to be completely honest, every morning I'm on irs.gov. I've joined their subscription. I mean, just everything, because new documentation is happening daily. Literally daily. I'm telling, my clientele, I'm texting them and I say, I don't want to feel like it's an overload, but I also don't want you to feel like you were misinformed or you didn't know, because a lot of people were like, oh, were my documents submitted, or I can't check the irs.gov. I don't have a status here. You're not going to have a status until February the 12th. That's when they're accepting the returns. As of the 22nd, you'll be able to access some of your returns. And some of my clientele are still receiving their stimulus. Me personally, my date on the website said the 6th. I said, okay, let's just wait. I didn't get mine until like 2 days ago. That's another thing. You can file your stimulus. If you didn't get the correct amount last year, you're able to file that on your return. And then as of February the 12th, they're asking preparers, if the client has not received it, then you're able to add it on to the return. So it's a lot of different little things with taxes this year that's going to be very tricky. And I tell you're either going to make it or break it at this point. Make it or break it. Go to TurboTax and get $3,000. And I understand some people, for privacy reasons, they do choose TurboTax. I absolutely respect it. However, from a business standpoint of things, you can't use TurboTax and then call me and ask me to walk you through the TurboTax website. It's one of those.
That's a really good.
Charge them a flat rate.
Everybody wants it for free, but the reality is you provide a service, and you're also educating your clients. And I just think that that's something worth paying for, and people need to understand the real meaning of value. And I know that a lot of people, again, had to rush into understanding what owning a business is all about last year, and maybe the prior year and years before. But now is the time to really get 10 toes down and understand what it is that you're doing. We all need to move with intention. And this is a nice segue to address the fact that everybody on this podcast is wearing pearls today. And you guys know why.
I was going to tell you that. I was waiting.
Yes. And so we definitely want to give a shout out to Miss Kamala Harris. Congratulations to you. I
Yes.
gave you a hard time in the beginning, but I am still very honored to have you as our vice president. And congratulations to Joe Biden. We have gone through a good lashing these last few years and even years before. And I'm hoping and praying that we will pick up and do great. Everybody just needs to work on them. This is
Absolutely.
individualistic effort. It has nothing to do with parties. It has everything to do with individuality and just bettering ourselves and being aware of how we treat each other.
You know what? It's a customer experience. I tell a lot of, my clients that they say, I talked to a client last night until 11 o'clock, and y'all know I have an infant. And he was just up looking like he wanted to be in the conversation too. But as she said, you know what? It's not about doing the taxes or who you choose. It's actually like the experience. I honestly give my clients an experience from the beginning to end. I'm not just offering a service, because we know when you go to Chick-fil-A, it's a have a great day. And it's just a different experience than when you go to McDonald's and they throw your bag out and your order wrong and you get home and you're mad. But Chick-fil-A has told you it was a pleasure serving you. It's so much of a difference. So yeah, and your customers and your clients will do your marketing for you, believe it or not, when it comes to business, because one person will tell the next person and they go get the experience, and before you know it, phones are blowing up and ringing. So yes.
That's awesome. So I do have maybe a few more questions. I love talking about taxes because I learned so much, and it's so much that our community do not understand what goes into when it comes to doing taxes. It takes hours to just do one return. And a lot of people think you just input a couple of numbers and then voila, now you have a refund. It doesn't work that way, Mm-hmm. So even just you saying the with the bank statements and explaining how long it would take to input the information from the bank statements, that shows people this is a process. Some tax returns can take days, maybe weeks, depending on what you need to file for. So question, so if someone did receive, say, a grant or a loan from the government due to COVID, what are the tax implications around that?
It depends on how much they receive. We know it's a big difference between a grant and a loan. A lot of people in our community do not understand that. So a grant, we know, is money that you do not have to pay back. It was given to you. Those loans, those PPP loans, I think is like the newest one. They're coming out with second round of them. With those actual loans, they have an installment amount. So they're already paying on them. So you have a monthly amount that you're already going to be paying on that actual loan. So you continue to pay that amount, but that's also going to factor into your income. And it's a case by case, because some people were not completely honest when they went and got the loan, and you just don't know. And you are so right. A tax return is so more than just putting in a few numbers, because you get to hidden different tax brackets. And when you go to a different tax bracket, your taxes are so different. But you can do a lot of write-offs depending on what your business is. And I say when it comes to the IRS, be as honest and transparent as possible, because as a tax preparer, we have due diligence questions. Those questions come back asking us, as a tax preparer, did you ask for these items? Does this look true and accurate to you? It's a lot that we're held accountable for. And we also ourselves can get a fine. As well as, a client having to pay back money, we can also come back and be audited and get a fine. And that's why you see a lot of pop-up tax offices that are there one year and the next year they're gone, because they got so many fines and they close down their establishment. Most of the time they'll come back under a different name, and you'll see them on the side of the road with a sign saying, I can get you $12,000 for one kid. Or I can get you a huge return with no kids. Oh no, just bring your information. And I just tell people, some stuff is just be realistic. We know tax returns is what you paid on that W-2 money when it comes to individual. So if you did not work a job, a W-2, or you did not have a Schedule C, some type of business, how do you think that you're going to get a $20 or $30,000 return? And you didn't pay any taxes and you want a huge return. And then when your tax preparers say, well, this, I don't want to add school to your return because you didn't go to school. And if I get you this little $1,000 or $1,500, I may get a fine because that's really not what you provided to me. That comes back into character on who you choose to do your taxes, because those due diligence questions are so important. And it's black and white. Did the person provide it to you? Is this really the documentation that they gave you or not? So, yeah.
Love it. So we're getting ready to wrap up, but I just wanted to make sure that I put it in everybody's ear that identity theft and fraud is a very real issue that a lot of people face even prior to filing their taxes. So it's important that you guys purchase some type of protection that will alert you whenever someone's using your social security number or any type of personally identifying information for that links them back to you, basically, like your social security card, your driver's license number, things like that. So just be cautious and aware of where you're leaving your personal items. Don't trust anybody. And when you have your tax income documents from the previous year, don't just lay them around your house when you're having company. Put those things up. You need to have a filing cabinet or a space in your home that only you and your people in your home know about. Put those documents there because you'd be surprised what they can do with just a small amount of information.
Absolutely.
And so I myself was a victim of identity theft about 6 or 7 years ago. And it literally took the remainder of the year just to verify and validate who I was. I also had to receive a PIN number that I use each and every year when I file my taxes. So nobody can do anything because I can't even do anything without the PIN. So I just want to tell you guys so nobody else is stuck in that situation. I know a lot of people last year had a very rough economic year. So don't do anything to make yourself victim to this type of situation because there are predators that are out there. And normally 10 times out of 10 times it's somebody that you know that has taken your information because they think they know you well enough to spew out your information to the agent that's helping you. And the agent doesn't know if they don't do their job to properly evaluate and ensure that you are who you say you are. And sometimes, let's be real, sometimes people don't care. They just want the money, right? True. So guys, be safe. We want to thank you so much, Emerald, for coming on to the Sistas Talk Podcast, dropping some true gems and pearls today. You didn't cut any corners. I love the fact that you drove right into the concept of stop letting people carry your kids. Stop carrying kids that aren't yours because the IRS will find you. Have y'all seen the movie Soul? It's like, I will find you. I love that movie. It's so cute. Really will. But they will. And they will garnish your wages too. So, I mean, this is a very real thing. We've seen actors and actresses, celebrities, status people who have been jailed for not paying taxes. So it's unavoidable. We all have to pay them except for a select few. I won't go there. But anyway, for the majority of the time, most of us, 99.9% of us pay taxes. So I would say what I gathered from you today, Emerald, is that save all your documentation, your gas mileage. If you bought a new computer for your business, you bought a new cell phone, any type of gadgets and devices to help you run your company smoothly, make sure that you save those receipts because she already told you about the possible tax credit that can come from that and the form that you need to look up. It's a 7202, correct?
That's it. Mm-hmm.
And make the irs.gov website your best friend. So I'm going to pass the torch over to you, Asia.
Thank you so much, Emerald. I learned so much. This was definitely an amazing conversation. I'm going to take it back and apply it to my life. But I'm definitely appreciative of you being transparent and being available for your clients and for anyone who's listening. So thank you so much for being here with us. This was an amazing show. And thank you all for watching the Sistas Talk Podcast.
And so for you guys, next week, we're going to have Miss Darlene. She's an author of her brand new book, Only God Knows. So I'm looking forward to interviewing her. I just feel like she's going to have so much information that every man and woman can take away. We never know what type of inner battles people are facing. And so I just love the fact that Sistas Talk is honored enough to have people who feel vulnerable enough to share their life experience with us. So as always, I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. And thank you so much for listening to the Sistas Talk Podcast. You guys have a blessed evening.
Good night.
Good night.